No one would have believed, in the last years of the 19th century, that human affairs were being watched from the timeless worlds of space. No one could have dreamed we were being scrutinized as someone with a microscope studies creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. Few men even considered the possibility of life on other planets. And yet, across the gulf of space, minds immeasurably superior to ours regarded this Earth with envious eyes. And slowly and surely, they drew their plans against us.
Hello, welcome everybody for tuning in this evening to Reality Decoded, where once again we are live from the Thrift Store Studio, Toronto, on the 27th of March 2021. Welcome Rocker Chick and Nancy and Kaz so far to the chat. So we've got something a little bit different tonight. We are experimenting with a pilot project once again, as we did last week with a panel program, but this week our panelists are live and in the studio, ready and waiting to go. So hopefully they can see us and you can see them, and you can hear them. So we're going to dive in straight away, pretty much off the bat, with our panel chat and discussion, which is going to be a little bit sort of candid and off the cuff, just sort of hanging out, nothing too much to get your mind around, although there should be some interesting thoughts and discussions. Let me try and move that down a little bit. So everybody, in your own time, say hello from Becky first.
Hello. How is everyone tonight?
Oh, I hope they're all right. Can you hear Becky okay, audience? Sorry, Maiden, we've got the thing over your face. Sorry about that. Maiden, can we hear you?
I don't know, can you?
I can.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. And that handsome devil in the bottom left-hand corner is Marduke 2023, aka Mark Anthony. So he's joining us today as a panelist, and we are alive and ready. So it's a bit weird because I got to kind of talk to this camera, but I'm used to talking to my other camera because I'm talking to the guys, and as you can see, I am in the top corner there. So welcome everybody that has tuned in. We are continuing a little bit sort of where we left off yesterday with some alien related topics this evening, and that is why we've brought our resident wench wrenches, Maiden and Becky in our newfound friend Marduke, who's going to come in and provide some input and information this evening on UFOs and aliens. So there's something we all have had a little bit of experience with, and something we do have a little bit of fun talking about here on Reality Decoded and TSP TV. There's some of the content that seems to get more interest from a unanimous amount of the audience. Some people sometimes aren't as interested in some of the topics, but aliens is one that we can for sure kind of unite on and all kind of agree that there's something not right in the skies. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Maiden for the next few minutes. You are the captain because you've got a lot of interesting stories from your neck of the woods, and then we have a little bit of a hear from Mark afterwards. So over to you.
Hey, where should I start? Montana has a big history in UFO sightings and cattle mutilations and weird, unexplained things all the time going on in Montana.
It's kind of a little bit like the sort of northern Roswell in some ways, right?
In some ways, one of the earliest filmed UFO footages that exists is from Great Falls, Montana, from the 1950s. I think 1950 was the actual date, but then that one turned out to be a hoax, not a hoax, but it was fake. Turned up to be a reflection, but that Great Falls area during that 50s and 60s period had quite a few sightings, and even their missile silos up in the Air Force Base, Maelstrom Air Force Base, had their missile silos turned off by like some kind of pulse.
And nobody knows what causes the pulse. It wasn't something that was from a local power company, or it wasn't some kind of power outage. It was some unknown force that took their nuclear grid down or something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm not sure how long. I didn't see that part in the article that I just read, but the bunch of engineering companies, including Boeing, investigated what had happened and what was reported, and the Air Force investigated it. And still to this day, they have no idea what caused they said there was a kind of a pulse that turned off the silos, but there were the UFO sightings as well along with that pulse.
So they coincided with each other. Now, do you think perhaps that this military base was conducting some kind of experiment and it went a little bit too public and they were covering up, or?
I think they saw something. Because of what I experienced in Montana, I don't doubt that they saw something.
Cool. Now let's hand over to you, Mark, because you are the newcomer, and Beck is waiting patiently up there, looking as elegant as ever. You also used to live in Montana, and you've seen a few interesting things in the sky. And more recently, in 2018, you saw something that you couldn't explain. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, well, in Montana, I mean, we talked about this earlier. Talked about Starlink that I had seen numerous times for about a 2-week period. I would see it almost every morning. It was almost like clockwork. You could go out there and see it, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. And of course, in Montana, you got such beautiful skies, clear skies. There's so many things you can see moving around up there. I'm sure a lot of people would write it off as being, satellites or whatnot, but I got certain ones I call sky crawlers, and I got other ones I call blippity blippers.
Blippity blippers.
Ones that zig and zag.
Right. Okay.
I know you know what I'm talking about.
I can see maiden nomin, but what's interesting is you've got names for two different types of phenomenon that you see in the sky regularly that isn't regular stars or planetary sort of systems, right?
Right. I mean, just about on any given night, I mean, you can walk out as long as it's a clear night, you walk out and you can definitely see stuff going across the sky that you know is not an airplane. I mean, it's obvious, I mean, airplanes have certain light signatures, certain lights that blink, and but that's just that and certain things that I've never actually seen like a visual or an actual physical craft or anything like that. But if you look at cloud structures and things that would be sitting over the mountains and certain things that definitely didn't look like a cloud, looked like a big old spaceship sitting up there.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, last year when I was out and about during the summer months, we were camping out a lot down the beaches, and some of the guys, we were live looking at clouds and things in the sky and like, does this look normal? And, you kind of get used to a certain way things look, even though you may not be, the most knowledgeable astrologer. You kind of recognize certain patterns in the sky in constellations and stuff. And I've been like looking up recently and like, I'm sure that wasn't there before. And it is only little dots in the sky. Now, a little bit what we spoke about yesterday with Devil when he called in, he was talking about those silver